is to take the best and to spread it around to everybody so that everybody grows up with better things and starts to understand the subtlety of these better things. And Microsoft's just, you know, it's McDonald's. So that's what saddens me. Not that Microsoft has won, but that Microsoft's products don't display more insight and more creativity.
So what are you doing about it? Tell us about Next.
Well, I'm not doing anything about it.
Okay.
Because Next is too small of a company to do anything about that. I'm just watching it. And there's really nothing I can do about it.
Next, we talked about Next, the company Steve was running in 1995, which Apple was soon to buy. Next software would become the heart of the Mac in the form of OS X.
You don't really want to hear about Next, do you?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay. Well, maybe the best thing, since we don't have much time, is I can just tell you what Next is today.
Yeah,
rather than the whole
that's
history.
fine.
There hasn't been... Clearly, the innovation in the computer industry is happening in software right now. And there hasn't been a revolution in how we create software in a long... sorry. The innovation in the industry is in software. And there hasn't ever been a real revolution in how we created software, certainly not in the last 20 years. As a matter of fact, it's gotten worse. While the Macintosh was a revolution for the end user to make it easier to use, it was the opposite for the developer. The developer paid the price, and software got much more complicated to write as it became easier to use for the end user. So, software is infiltrating everything we do these days. In businesses, software is one of the most potent competitive weapons. I mean, the most successful business war was friends and family, MCI's friends and family, in the last 10 years. And what was that? It was a brilliant idea, and it was custom billing software. AT&T didn't respond for 18 months, yielding billions of dollars worth of market share to MCI, not because they were stupid, but because they couldn't get the billing software done. So in ways like that, and in smaller ways, software is becoming an incredible force in this world. To provide new goods and services to people, whether it's over the internet or what have you, software is going to be a major enabler in our society. We have taken another one of those brilliant original ideas at Xerox PARC that I saw in 1979, but didn't see really clearly then, called object-oriented technology. And we have perfected it and commercialized it here and become the biggest supplier of it to the market. And this object technology lets you build software 10 times faster. And it's better. And so that's what we do. And we've got a small to medium-sized business. I mean, we're the largest supplier of objects. But we're a $50 to $75 million company. Got about 300 people. And that's what we do.
And the end of the third show, actually, is the one moment where we do look into the future, because Channel 4 has asked us to do that.
Sure.
And so what's your vision of 10 years from now with this technology that you're developing?
Well, I think the internet and the web, there are two exciting things happening in software and in computing today. I think one is objects, but the other one is the web. The web is incredibly exciting because it is the fulfillment of a lot of our dreams that the computer would ultimately not be primarily a device for computation, but metamorphosize into a device for communication. And with the web, that's finally happening. And secondly, it's exciting because Microsoft doesn't own it, and therefore there's a tremendous amount of innovation happening. So I think that the web is going to be profound in what it does to our society. As you know, about 15% of the goods and services in the US are sold via catalogs or over the television. All that's going to go on the web and more. Billions and billions, soon tens of billions of dollars worth of goods and services are going to be sold on the web. If you could, a way to think about it is the ultimate direct-to-customer distribution channel. Another way to think about it is the smallest company in the world can look as large as the largest company in the world on the web. So I guess I think the web, as we look back 10 years from now, the web is going to be the defining technology, the defining social the defining social moment for computing. And I think it's going to be huge. I think it's breathed a whole new generation of life into personal computing. And I think it's going to be huge. Yeah.
And you're making software that...
Oh, absolutely. But so is everybody. I mean, just forget about what we're doing. Just as an industry, the web is going to open a whole new door to this industry. Yeah.
It's another one of those things that it's obvious once it happens. But 5 years ago, who would have guessed?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Isn't this a wonderful place we live in?
I was keen to know about Steve's passion. What drove him?
I read an article when I was very young in Scientific American, and it measured the efficiency of locomotion for various species on the planet. So for, you know, bears and chimpanzees and raccoons and birds and fish, how many kilocalories per kilometer did they spend to move? And humans were measured too. And the condor won. It was the most efficient. And mankind, the crown of creation, came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But somebody there had the brilliance to test a human riding a bicycle. Blew away the condor, all the way off the charts. And I remember this really had an impact on me. I really remember this, that humans are tool builders. And we build tools that can dramatically amplify our innate human abilities. And to me, we actually ran an ad like this very early at Apple, that the personal computer was the bicycle of the mind. And I believe that with every bone in my body, that of all the inventions of humans, the computer is going to rank near, if not at the top, as history unfolds and we look back. And it is the most awesome tool that we have ever invented. And I feel incredibly lucky to be at exactly the right place in Silicon Valley, at exactly the right time historically, where this invention has taken form. And as you know, when you set a vector off in space, if you can change its direction a little bit at the beginning, it's dramatic when it gets a few miles out in space. I feel we are still really at the beginning of that vector. And if we can nudge it in the right directions, it will be a much better thing as it progresses on. And I look, you know, I think we've had a chance to do that a few times. And it brings, I think, all of us associated with it tremendous satisfaction.
But how do you know what's the right direction?
You know, ultimately it comes down to taste. It comes down to taste. It comes down to trying to expose yourself to the best things that humans have done, and then try to bring those things in to what you're doing. I mean, Picasso had a saying, he said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And we have, you know, always been shameless about stealing great ideas. And I think part of what made the Macintosh great was that the people working on it were musicians and poets and artists and zoologists and historians who also happened to be the best computer scientists in the world. But if it hadn't been for computer science, these people would have all been, you know, doing amazing things in life in other fields. And they brought with them, we all brought to this effort a very liberal arts sort of air, a very liberal arts attitude that we wanted to pull in the best that we saw in these other fields into this field. And I don't think you get that if you're very narrow.
One of the questions I asked everyone in the series was, are you a hippie or a nerd?
Oh, if I had to pick one of those two, I'm clearly a hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that in 30 seconds.
All the people I work with were clearly in that category too.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, why?
Yeah, why? I mean, is it you seek out hippies, or they are attracted to you?
Well, ask yourself, what is a hippie? I mean, this is an old word that has a lot of connotations, but to me, you know, because I grew up, I mean, remember that the 60s happened in the early 70s, right? So we have to remember that. And that's sort of when I came of age. So I saw a lot of this. And, you know, a lot of it happened right in our backyard here. so, to me, the spark of that was that there was something beyond sort of what you see every day. There's something going on here in life beyond just a job and a family and 2 cars in the garage and a career. There's something more going on. There's another side of the coin that we don't talk about much, and we experience it when there's gaps, when we kind of just aren't really, when everything's not ordered and perfect, when there's kind of a gap, you experience this inrush of something. And a lot of people have set off throughout history to find out what that was. You know, whether it's Thoreau or whether it's, you know, some Indian mystics or whoever it might be. And the hippie movement got a little bit of that, and they wanted to find out what that was about, and that life wasn't about what they saw their parents doing. And of course the pendulum swung too far the other way, and it was crazy. But there was a germ of something there. And it's the same thing that causes people to want to be poets instead of bankers, you know? And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that that same spirit can be put into products. And those products can be manufactured and given to people, and they can sense that spirit. I mean, if you talk to people that use the Macintosh, they love it. I mean, you don't hear people loving products very often, you know, really. But you could feel it in there. There was something really wonderful there. So I don't think that most of the really best people that I've worked with have worked with computers for the sake of working with computers. They've worked with computers because they are the medium that is best capable of transmitting some feeling that you have, that you want to share with other people. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, before they invented these things, all these people would have done other things. But computers were invented, and they did come along, and all these people did get interested in school or before school, and said, hey, this is the medium that I think I can say something in, you know?